Hi everyone, my name is Jessica Roth and I am an Italian style team member with Framesi North American Educator. I'm super excited to be here today. I'm going to be showing you one of my favorite looks from the Italian style collection. The haircut is what we're going to do first. This is my model Nicole. Hello Nicole. The first thing that we do is we're going to section off this model. Now, there are a couple things that I want to note before we get started. She already has a really pretty fringe, so I already have this sectioned out for her. And if we turn her to the side, you can see she also has an undercut that we are going to be working with this haircut. This haircut is done in 4 sections, okay? Section A is going to be your fringe. This is your front fringe triangle. It's going to go from the vertex to the eyebrow arches, okay? The next sections are B and C. B and C are right here. You're going to trace a line from ear to ear, passing through the vertex. As you see, if we bend her down right here, you can see how nicely that goes right down to her ears, okay? Section D is one big section, okay? And this is horizontal partings. It's everything else that is left in the hair. I'm just gonna turn her around so you guys can see her really quickly. There we go. Everybody see that? You can see her nice little undercut under here. So basically our first section is going to start where her undercut begins. After that, I'm going to show you guys a really awesome color technique that is going to take a lot less time to get a lot of really, really beautiful color throughout her really nice hair. We've already based her with a 5.024, which is like a chocolatey brown, and then we're going to be doing some highlights. So let's start cutting. I'm going to just turn her around so everyone can see. I'm just going to walk right through here. As you can see, Nicole has a ton of hair. Even with this undercut, she has got so much hair. So we're not going to use any more than 4 centimeter partings when we're doing this. So I'm just going to take my clip and I'm going to go all the way around from ear to ear, and I'm going to bring down our first section right down over that undercut. Everything in this haircut is really simple. It's a really cute way to showcase a really beautiful neckline. Nicole has a beautiful neckline. Everything is going to be brought down to a stationary guide and cut square. What I mean by that is that we're going to be bringing all of the hair down and we're going to be cutting square, straight across, okay? Now, Nicole, I'm going to actually have you bend your head forward just a smidge. And the reason why I do that is so that she has a really nice line all the way through. I'm going to start her just a little bit below where her undercut is. I'm going to make sure my hands are nice and loose because we don't want anything to spring up because she does have a natural curl texture. And I'm just going to make my first cut just like that. And basically that's going to be my guide for the rest of this haircut. Body position when you're cutting is super, super important. So you want to make sure that you stay centered and everything's going to get brought straight across on that guide and cut. Now I am going to be repeating this all the way up for this entire section. Make sure that you check for tension. And then we're going to bring the next section down. Make sure to keep your sections very clean while you're cutting. It is super, super important to have nice, clean sectioning. This is how you can make sure that you're always going to have hair falling in the right place. When you get into the inside of your hand right here, let this go and move over and start again. There's nothing worse than cutting the inside of your hands. All right, we're going to bring that next section down just the same as before. What I really like about the Italian style haircutting is that we're always using reference points and head shape. This means that every client that you use these haircuts on, it will work for them because you're using their head shape to create these cuts. It also makes it really versatile. You can customize these haircuts, which is really, really nice. And remember, this is very light tension. We are trying to make sure that none of that hair jumps, as she does have a natural wave, especially when you get to the sides. It's okay if you can't fit all of that hair in your hand. Let it go and resection and go again. There we go. It's also okay to, if you want to separate the back into two sections, if you feel like it's too much hair being brought down at once, it is totally okay if you section those off as well. I just find that when I'm doing these haircuts, I like to move all the way across. Remember to keep your body position so that your line is nice and square. All right, I'm gonna bring this last section down. I'm just gonna set that clippy down. I'm gonna comb everything into place. And the same thing, we're just gonna cut that right there in its natural fall, cutting square. Remember, do not use a lot of tension. If you squeeze this hair and pull down, it is going to jump up and then your line's gonna be crooked. Always pay attention to your client's hairline and their natural texture. All right, and just like that, the back is finished and we're gonna move into the sides. So now we're just gonna turn her this way. I'm gonna have you sit with your head a little bit straighter, good. The same thing, we're gonna use horizontal sections, no more than 4 centimeters thick on each one, okay? We are going to use the back as our guide. Get this hair out of the way. What I like to do right here by the ears is definitely a problem area, especially when we're working with bobs. A little trick I like to do is I like to have the client tilt their head just a little bit away from me. And we're gonna let that fall right here, okay? And we're gonna cut it right in where it's living. I make my first cut right there. You can see we have a nice line right there. Nothing's jumping. You can already see that natural texture starting to turn in her ear right here. So you want to make sure that you give yourself that space. That is going to keep this hair from jumping and looking like you have a hole. You can use your fingers, tap it a couple times, and then just lift your index and cut. Now you've got your guide for the rest of this section here. Next section's down. Make sure she's tilted just a bit. Use your guide from underneath. If you don't know where it is, pick it up, find it, and cut. Remember, light tension on those fingers. This is one of my favorite haircuts because it's very quick and it's very flattering on a lot of different face shapes. If the client doesn't necessarily want to have hair this short, you can always adjust your reference points. Bring that last section down, same as before. That guy there. Okay, you can look straight, and we're going to turn her around and do the same thing on the other side. Now, the only thing different about this is that she does have that undercut here, and the only thing that changes is that we're starting up just a little bit higher for that first section. And these sections might be a little bit tinier until we get to the top because of the fact that she's already cut out in this side. But that's okay. So same thing, just tilt a little bit for me. Watch that ear. There's your guide from the back. Always use the wide side of your comb when you're doing this. This way you can make sure that we're not putting too much tension on that hair. Get that out of the way. If you can't find your guide, lift it up. You can see it. It's right there. And cut. And this whole haircut is all cut square, okay? Go away. Bring down that last section. Comb it into its natural fall. And cut. And she is done. Now, like I said before, she does have a natural fringe already. I'm just going to move around her really quick so that everybody can see. So what I'm going to do is, after we are finished applying her color, I am going to go in and texturize her fringe. You can also customize this haircut any way you'd like. You can use blenders. You can use a razor. You can use your shears, whatever you choose. I prefer to do all of my blending and texturizing when the hair is dry. So we're going to finish her haircut after we're done applying the color. All right. See how fast that was? Next thing we're going to do is some color. I'm going to get her about 80% dry so that I can make sure we get this done properly. I'm going to be using a couple different things. Thank you. Basically, we want to just get it dry enough so that everything processes evenly. And it's just a rough dry. You don't have to blow her out. This haircut is super fun and cute already. All right. That's perfect. So what I'm going to use today to create her highlights is something called Strike 4. So Strike 4 is a flat iron processing sheet that allows you to protect the hair, but it also allows you to process lightener really, really fast. It only gives you about 1 to 2 levels of lift, so this is not something that takes the place of a regular highlighting service, but it's a really great way to give dimension in the hair. It's going to be so beautiful to have really nice pops of color through her really beautiful chocolate brown that we've created. And I don't know about you, but with COVID and everything else that we've got going on, I am always running out of time in the salon trying to get everybody in. And this is just another way that I'm able to give clients something a little bit extra without having to take up a lot of time. So I'm using Framesi's Decolor Bee Clay Lightener and 20 volume. You never use more than 20 volume inside these sheets. What I like about this clay lightener is that it's ammonia free. It's also PPD. No, what am I doing? It's ammonia free and it's also fragrance free, which is amazing because the clients can't smell it. Half the time I'm working on people and they go, "Are you using lightener on me today?" Yes, I am. It just doesn't smell. When I'm creating any kind of highlights on a client, I like to work again with their face shape and their head shape. I find when I want brightness around the face, I really want to make sure that I use a diagonal sectioning pattern. If you go diagonal back, we're going to have a lot of really nice added brightness around her face. So I'm just going to turn on my flat iron. And while that heats up, we're going to get going. When you're using these, your flat iron is going to be set anywhere between 345 and 365, and that is it. So I'm going to work on diagonal back partings. I'm going to start on her sides and in the front. Section this away. And we're going to use something called a contouring technique, also a balayage type technique. Look at my section. It isn't completely straight. It's a little bit rounded. Again, this goes back to using the head shape as your guide, okay? This way nothing has harsh lines and everything just looks really, really soft. So I'm going to grab this by the fingers just like that and put it to a point. I'm going to use a balayage brush. And I'm going to paint on the outside corners and create my traditional balayage V section. And because I really want these to pop, I'm going to fully saturate these ends to make sure that she gets a really, really vibrant pop of color around that face. Feather up through the center to have a really soft blend. Make sure that you pick the hair up, especially when you're using these sheets, to evenly saturate underneath as well. Use the back of that brush and just blend it down, feathering against the grain, just to keep those lines nice and super soft. Now that I've got it about here, I'm going to grab my paper. I'm going to place it under the hair like this. That way it sticks. I just push it on there a little bit. Always keep a towel. Dry your hands if you need to. Get that lightener off of there. And then I'm just going to paint right in the sheet. Make sure I saturate those ends. And then we just fold it up. And it's done. We move on to the next one. I am not going to do any highlights on the very top of her hair, as I want this color to pop. If I leave depth on the top of the hair, it's going to make the highlights through the center jump out even more. So we're going to do the same thing again on that diagonal back section. Bring it to a point so you can hold it nice and tight. Tension is really key with this technique. When you're doing any kind of painting or balayage work, you want to make sure that you're holding that hair taut so that you can really glide that product onto the hair. I love using clay lighteners for this because it really does make it smooth. Very, very smooth. And don't be afraid to saturate. Saturation is a big key when we are painting and doing any of these kinds of techniques. Don't forget to lift up the hair and paint that other side. Feather softly down. It's the great thing about these techniques is that they are so customizable. You can take these techniques and change them to fit your clients and to incorporate your own artistry into any of these looks. Just gonna pull it down like that, let it sit. Dry off my hand. Hold it open. Make sure that product is really saturated in there. And close it up. It's okay if a little bit of your balayage painting is sticking up outside of these. What we want to create is a really nice gradation of color, dark to lightest. And so one of the ways that I like to do that, especially when we're dealing with the strike fours and things like that, is to leave a little bit of that out so that you get a really nice transition of color. The ends are going to pop the most, and you're going to have just a really soft transition from that level 5 into those brighter ends. Well, she has a lot of hair, so I'm going to do one more. Same thing, follow the head shape, curve of the head. Tilt towards me just a bit, thank you. Remember to pinch. And then paint. This one I'm actually going to do a little bit more of a full surface paint. And the reason why is because as we get closer to that top, I really want her to have a nice, bright pop of color right at the front. You can see where that's going to lay. Flip it under. Paint that bottom. Lift it up. Put that down. And as you can see, we're going to have a little bit sitting right up in the top here. That's going to give us that dimension and that nice pretty gradation of color from dark to light to lightest. Make sure to fully saturate those ends. Fold or close. And this side is finished. Now we're going to just flip her around and do the same thing on the other side. Now, because she has an undercut, I am going to start this section a little bit higher than before. And that's because if you look under here, she's got pretty much a quarter of that hair is out from under there. So we're going to start up just a little bit higher. All right, let me just turn her this way so everybody can see. Got that nice. Again, remember we're on a diagonal back sectioning. I'm going to take just a little bit more hair down. And we're going to repeat the same thing on the other side. Make sure to pinch. And paint. Make sure we feather up softly towards the base. Add a little more product. Flip her over. Layer down. And close her up. Because she has less hair over here, we're only going to be doing 2 of these. Visually, she will look the same from the front, but because she's missing that hair from underneath, we don't want to add too much light. One of the biggest things is to make sure we keep our depth when we're trying to just create contrast. You don't want to add too much highlight. Sometimes we tend to over highlight and then we lose all of our contrast. Make sure we saturate those ends. Close it up tight. We've got that nice gradation of color that's going to happen again, dark to lightest. And we set this back down. Okay. In the back, it's the same. Because of the fact that she's got an undercut and things like that happening, I don't want to over lighten her back here. What I am going to do is highlight her in the center and then on the sides. So look down. This section also is rounded. Nothing is ever completely straight. It's going to be a nice rounded section. This keeps those lines soft. Pinch in. And paint your V. Turn her upside down. Make sure we get that underneath. This is how we ensure full saturation and also a really nice blend with no harsh lines. You can also see with this sectioning, you have got a lot of coverage in this one paper. It's one of the things that I love about this is that you can really get a lot of color in just a few of these. Last one. A nice, soft, rounded section. And pinch in. So now what we're going to create is light through the center and depth on the side. And this is going to make these highlights jump out. And same thing again for this top piece. I am going to saturate fully so that she gets a nice bright pop of color. Again, not forgetting to go into this back underneath and feather that product down. I dropped it, guys. So, I need another one. Let's see. There we go. I fixed it. There we go. Fully saturate. Close her up. Now, the last section that you're going to do is going to be in her fringe. I'm going to turn her around so that everyone can see. She's got a really cute, tiny little Betty Bang going on here. Again, we don't want to put this on the top because I don't want this to scream. I want it to come through the fringe softly. So I'm going to take that same rounded section. I'm going to lift this up. And I'm going to clip it back. And I'm going to color right through this front of her fringe so it'll pop out. Now, you don't have to take a slice. You could weave these if you'd like to. This is totally up to you and your artistry and how you'd like to create this. I'm just showing you my favorite way. If you're more comfortable, you can use a smaller tint brush for the fringe area. And I'm going to fully saturate this panel. You can also turn your brush vertically and you can feather upward. And then we're just going to close it up. Now comes the fun part. As I said before, we're going to have our flat iron set between 345 and 365. I'm going to start here. And we're just going to lightly tap the paper. And then we're going to do 5 really smooth passes. This is very light tension. These are not meant to be really, really strong flat iron passes. Okay, this is very, very light tension. I'm just going to flip these over, get the hair out of the way. We're going to lightly tap. The tapping is what sets this into place so that it doesn't slide out. Then we're going to do 5 really soft passes. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then just let that sit right there and bring down the next one. The beauty of this is that once you're finished with all of the panels, it's done. Lightly tap, set it in place, and then 5 slow passes. Nicole, can you unhook me? Thanks, darling. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it is that easy. Now we're back around to this side. Did we do these already? It was so fast, I can't tell. No. And if you're looking for a little extra brightness, you can do this up to twice. So since I really want these guys to pop, I am going to do them through 2 times just to give them a little extra pop, especially in this front. But because of the technology in these papers, it leaves the hair nice and soft and protected. It does not cause damage. And you're able to create some really beautiful dimensional looks with not a lot of time. Hit the front one more time. All right. And she is finished with step 1. Nicole, I'm going to ask you nicely, please, dear, to walk offset and watch your feet. And we're going to get her rinsed, and you guys are going to see in real time what we've done. While she's getting rinsed, I do want to talk a little bit about what I'm using today and why I love them so much. So the first thing that we did was we used something called Fram Color 2001 Intense. Let me just bring this tray over here so that everybody can see what I'm looking at. Here we go. Everyone can see this. And we'll move this one over here so that one can get fixed. Thank you, ma'am. Fram Color 2001 Intense is what we used for her base today. This is a permanent hair color that processes in half the time. What I love about this is that it makes my salon client load go by much faster and I can get more clients. We have tons of colors and it's really, really beautiful. You can process instead of 35 minutes, you can process in 20 minutes and get beautiful permanent hair color. Pure Pigment Plus is what we're going to be using for her highlights. What I love about this is that you can restructure and color in one step. It is a ready-to-use direct dye pigment for damaged hair. It can make it glossy and healthy and hydrated. You can use this for filling, which I really like when you're repigmentizing and you have a client who's blonde and now it's fall and winter and all of our blondes now want to do what? They want to be brown. I know it's the bane of your existence because it's the bane of mine. But because they want to be brown, we have a way to do that for them where it will be healthy and it will be shiny and it will last for them. They are acidic formulas. They have natural shades, they have vibrant shades and bold shades. There are 15 of these and they are so, so beautiful. I'm going to try to pull these up without knocking over this whole display. We have really, really pretty blondes. We have brunettes. We have warm ambers and golds, which are really great for filling. And if you look down here, we have my favorite. We have vibrant colors as well, and they are beautiful and they stick around. So if you have that client who really, really loves to be those brighter, more vibrant colors and they want them to stay, these will stay for them, even on extremely porous and damaged hair. The hydration and longevity is what I love about them. You can color rebalance. You can add shine to the hair. They have a clear formula. So if you have a client who's just super damaged and you need a treatment, these can work for you. It's basically formulated to fill in the gaps by repairing and treating porous and overprocessed damaged hair. One more thing I want to mention about the 2001 Intense is that it is a 1-to-2 mix ratio, so you get 2 applications per tube. You can use this alone, or you can mix it with Framesi's Fram Color 2001, and then you have 124 shades of color that can process in half the time. I think one of the things that I like to mention also that makes this different than some of the other quick or 10-minute colors that are out there is that this is a non-progressive formulation, okay? That means that when you put this on, whether you want this done in 20 minutes or in 35 minutes, it's still gonna be the same color. And that's what makes this so great. You can still get up to 4 levels of lift, and it is 100% gray coverage with 34 really beautiful shades to choose from. Now, I believe that Dave has some slides that I wanted to put up on the screen for you all to see so that I could explain to you what we just did a little bit better. Perfect. Okay, great. So what you're looking at is the technique that I pulled from, okay? This is one of my favorite looks from the Italian Style collection. This is from their emotional collection. What you can see in that top corner is how they've sectioned out those contouring pieces. Now they use just the contouring brush or balayage brush and some cotton in between. But for us to make this go faster, we use those Strike 4 papers. That allowed us to create this look in a fraction of the time that it would have taken me otherwise. You can also see there the lightener that we use. That's the decolored beet clay. And you can see the formulas that we have down there that are suggested. You can use any of those formulas to create this look with any of the colors that we have. If you could switch over to the haircut slide for me, I just wanted to show you that sectioning as well. You can see on that diagram, we have those 4 sections. That A section is your front triangle fringe, okay? And again, that goes from your vertex to the eyebrow arches. The next section there is going to be sections B and C, okay? And that's where we trace that line from ear to ear and through the vertex. Section D are those horizontal partings of everything that you have left, okay? That is all in that natural fall and cut square. At the very bottom, if you notice, you can see that there are some contouring and texturizing techniques at the bottom. Those are the ones that I was talking about that we're going to do on the model when they're dry. I like to do all of my contouring and blending when it's dry. Thank you for putting that up on the screen for me. The Strike 4 papers look like this. Looks like my model's almost ready, so I'm going to show you these really quick while we have time, okay? This is what those papers look like. Strike 4 XL. We have regular Strike 4 flat iron processing sheets, and we have XL. The XL sheets are extra wide. I love these for the technique that we just did because I'm able to put my balayage sections in there so that I can create those really cool pops of color in a lot less time. I believe that my model is here. Hello, model.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
We have gloves there. Perfect. I'm just going to push this to you, and I'm going to take this. Yes. And I'm going to put some gloves on. In the bowl, I have mixed Pure Pigment Plus, -46, and -44. Basically, what those are is a really beautiful amber, and then the 44 is a bright copper. So I really want these sections to pop. So I've added that bright copper just to give her some really nice dimension in this color. Remember that when you're doing this, the brighter the lift that you achieve, the brighter these pigments are going to be. Everybody sees how nice and creamy this mix is? There is no developer in these shades, okay? It is pure pigment, hence the name, Pure Pigment Plus. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow that same sectioning pattern that I had before, and I'm going to put this on all of my highlights. Can you see those highlights? Can you guys see how light she got? Look at that. And how long did that take? That did not take long at all. So we're just going to get this on, and this is going to process for 10 minutes. Anytime I'm applying any kinds of toners, I like to use a bowl and a brush because I feel like I'm going to get the most saturation this way. And the most even saturation this way. I always work on diagonal sections so that I can keep everything off of the client's face. Push it all back this way. And especially on damp hair, the consistency of this stuff is so great. It really does just glide right through the hair. You can use your hands to kind of make sure we push that through. Remember that these are equivalent to a direct dye. There is no developer in here. So whatever it touches, it will stain. You're going to have to make sure that anything you want colored, you have to put this on. So your sectioning and your application is very, very important when you're using this, just like any other application. Look at those. So pretty. You can use the insides of your fingers. Make sure you really work that product in there so that you get full saturation on every section. It's okay. I'm putting this, as you can see, I'm putting this through all of her hair. And that's okay. It's just going to give the brown, it'll just give it a nice overall shine to the hair. Remember, we talked about all of those restructuring goodness that it's got in there. So why not put it on other hair too? Because it's just going to make it look great. Spinner. Be sure to stick around for a little bit after this video. We are going to have some Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Say hi to me. Ask me anything you'd like. I'm happy to answer it. If you have Instagram, I do have an Instagram. It is JessieLee_hair artist. I post all of my work on there. I also post formulas as well. If you see anything on there that you like, feel free to send me a DM and ask me about it. I'll tell you anything you want to know. I'm not stingy with my formulas. I'm just working that color through, making sure we get really nice saturation and everything is off of Nicole's face. It makes the clients comfortable. Makes your job easier later when you're trying to get color off of her. And then I'm just going to grab her little front fringe section really quickly. And she is done. Nicole, if you'd like, you can get up and you can go process over here by the sink. And I will see you in 10 minutes. While we're waiting for her to process, does anyone have any questions that I can answer? If you want to shoot those over to me, we could do that now.
Hi, Jessica. The one question we did have is, could you repeat how many shades of lift we could get with that process?
Say that one more time for me. How many shades of lift? In her process, we got about 2 shades of lift, I would say. And when you're using the Strike 4 with the lightener, you're going to get anywhere between 1 to 2 levels of lift. And depending on what level you start from and whether or not the client has been colored previously, will kind of depend on how that is. I have sometimes gotten 3. It just depends on the canvas that you're using it on, but never more than that.
We don't have any other questions from the audience. If you guys have any questions, please type them in the chat.
Perfect. Well, I think that what I'm going to do then is, I thought it would be really important at this point to talk about client consultation. I think that's something that everybody needs to work on and is always talking about. Anytime I teach classes live, we always have a whole section on client consultation. The big thing about that is that we are now living in an age where everything is digital, and everyone is bringing us all of this beautiful work that they're seeing on Instagram, Pinterest, and wherever else. And the thing that I like to talk about is lighting, okay? And what filters these things are using and how this is going to look on someone when they actually bring you that picture into the salon. One of the things I like to ask a client is, what is it about this photo that you like? Sometimes I've had people bring me stuff and what they liked was just the color of the blonde, but they didn't really want the haircut, or they didn't really want the shadowed root, or they didn't want all of their hair to be blonde. They just wanted the blonde pieces that they had to be that color. So it saves you a lot of time and a lot of trouble if we can really narrow down what these clients are wanting. Okay, so it's always important to ask the right questions. What is it about this photo that you like? What is it about this photo that you don't like? Do you want your haircut that short? Do you want layers? These are called layers. Explain to these clients what they're looking at and what they're asking you, because half the time they come in and they ask you for stuff and they don't really know the terms. We're the professionals. We know the terms. We need to tell them what they're really asking for so that we can make sure that we give them the right thing. Another thing that I think is super important when you're doing consultations is strand tests. I want to talk about our model today that we had. Nicole is a beautiful girl, but when she came in today, she let us know that she had used a henna product on her hair before we started her service. I know! Henna! No, there is a lot of henna out there now that actually doesn't use metallic salts in their formulation, so we don't get the complete meltdown when you touch it with color. But it is always important to do a hair history with a client before we started. So before we started today, I made sure that I clarified the hair, getting hair purified, okay, so that there is nothing on that hair, no product buildup, no hard water or any kind of mineral deposits. You want to make sure that you have a clean canvas. You wouldn't paint on a dirty canvas, would you? No, you would not. You paint on a clean one. So we want to color on one as well. That's how you're going to get the best results for your color, okay? You want to make sure that you're asking those types of questions. And that strand test is going to tell you. If they say they haven't colored their hair, oh, I haven't used box color in years, it's been forever. Well, guess what? As soon as you do that strand test, you're going to see. You're going to see, because the hair does not lie. The hair will tell you the truth. And one of my favorite things to use those strike 4 papers for is a strand test. You can literally see everything that's in their hair in a matter of seconds. And it will make your life so much easier to just stick a section of hair in that paper, paint it with a couple different lighteners or colors, whatever you're working on, and open that thing up and see what's inside. It will tell you whether you can or cannot. Any other questions while we're in there? I could talk to you guys all day. So if there aren't any questions, I have a million things to tell you. Any more? No, we're good? All right, cool. So let's talk about that 2001 Intense and how I use it in the salon. Okay. I was a stylist that before COVID, I was double and triple booked all the time. I was working on clients all the time, in between everybody. And then what happened is COVID happened and we weren't allowed to do that anymore. We were mandated that we could only do one client at a time or 2 clients at a time in the salon. And I was just sitting here going, well, how am I going to fit all these people into my day anymore? Because I had so many clients and not enough time. Well, the 2001 Intense allows me to have enough time because I'm able to put that product on my client. It processes in half of the regular processing time, and I can get those root touch-ups in and out of here. When I'm using those strike 4 papers, I can put dimension in a client's hair and some really pretty highlights and get them in and out of here. If a client sits in my chair and says, you know what, I don't think I want just a root touch-up today. I think I want some highlights, or I think I want a little bit of dimension in my color. I don't freak out anymore because I have tools to do that for them, where I can still give them a customized experience in a quicker amount of time and not have to mess up my book. I also have kids, okay? I'm married and I have 2 children. I like that I can get out of the salon earlier. I like that I can be home by about 6 o'clock instead of being home at 9 o'clock. It shaves time off my day and allows me to have family time as well. But If I need to let that process, again, it's not progressive, so it can sit for a few minutes if I am double booked and I am working on another client. So there's just a lot of uses for it, and I find myself reaching for that probably every day now. Every day I'm using those in the salon. But the strand test with the Strike 4 was a game changer for me because it allowed me to check that client's hair and check it quickly. You know, sometimes we don't do strand tests because we don't have time. I have time to do strand tests now. And I am a big, big believer in the strand test. Okay? I am super excited. I cannot wait to see what this model looks like. That's what makes it so fun, is that everything is done and it's done fast. I'm able to give you guys a cut and a color and a highlight in 1 hour. It's pretty fun.
Jessica, we do have one more question.
Go ahead.
What color formula did you use before the highlights were done?
Oh, her base color formula was the Frame Color 2001 Intense 5.024 with 20 volume because she did have some gray. Okay.
Thank you.
Good question. All right. Hello, Nicole. Come and sit.
Thank you.
All right. Wow. Oh, these look so good. I can't wait for you guys to see. If you can see it wet, you know it's going to be great when it's dry. All right, so now I want to talk a little bit about styling, okay? When I'm styling a client, I'm never using more than 3 products, okay? The reason why is because we're trying to sell retail. A lot of our salons, they want us to sell retail. Clients are not going to use more than 3 products at a time. They're just not going to. And if you use too many, they're just going to get confused and they're just going to have a giant bin full of product, which all of us do underneath our sink, that they're not going to use. So I like to educate my clients and tell them what I'm using and why. The first thing that I'm using today is something called Progressively Strong. This is a really cool product, okay? This is a product that is a leave-in conditioner, but it also will strengthen and restructure those ends. If you have breakage, it will mend your broken ends and keep them together. It fights breakage. It's a really great product. And it smells delicious, which Nicole can attest for that. I love it. The next thing I'm going to use is something called Weo Smooth Straight Balm. We saw earlier she definitely has some texture in her hair, so I want to make sure that that blowout is nice and smooth. When I'm using a product like this, I like to emulsify it in my hands first. I put it on both sides of my hands, like a lotion or a soap. Okay? I'm going to start in the underneath, and then I'm going to work my way through to the top. By doing it this way, you can see that the hair is going on the top and the bottom of my hands. This way, I'm like evenly dispersing the product through everywhere a lot better. And you don't get that clump of product in one place. And the last thing that I'm going to use is something called Flash Dry, which also smells amazing. But Flash Dry is going to cut my blow dry time down. And if you haven't noticed, this girl has a ton of hair, even with an undercut. So just a nice light mist. And then once I'm finished, I just comb everything through so that all the product that I've used is now evenly distributed throughout the hair. I am going to just kind of towel dry her a little bit, get some of the water out. What we don't want to be is a human water extractor, okay? Save yourself some time. Don't start your blowout with a dripping head of hair. I'm all about saving time today. All right, so the 2 brushes that I just have, a medium-sized round brush, and I also have a flat Denman brush. I like to use these, especially on a fringe. A short Betty fringe is always, always better with a flat brush because the last thing we want to do is round these things out more than they already are. They will stick straight up and they will not look pretty. So I'm going to use a medium heat. And what we're going to do is run this blow dryer parallel and push. You're going to push them to both sides. Ooh, hi camera. Sorry about that. And then I use the dent to softly pull them down. But it's a side-to-side motion. And then pull forward. Look at those highlights in there. Can you see them? But you can already see the shine and how smooth that is. See that? Lovely. When I blow dry, I am always running parallel to the hair shaft. We're never straight on this hair, and we are not pushing on this brush. That's how we get flyaways, and that's how we burn hair. There is no burnt hair here. Always start at the root first to smooth, and then move your way down the hair shaft. The ends are the last thing you should blow dry. The reason why is because they are usually the most porous, and they dry the fastest. There we go. Look how pretty that is. Always starting at the root. And then we work our way through to the mids and the ends. And the blow dryer, again, is always parallel to my section. I am not pushing on that. I am running it right parallel with that brush. If you want more volume, lift higher and over direct. You see how shiny? No frizz, just soft, smooth, shiny, dimensional. It is so vibrant. Looks gorgeous. Again, that's what I love about these techniques is how customizable they are. If we need to turn my mic off while we blow dry, we can. Because I can't help it. See how soft that is? That is why we feather the underneath of those sections, so that you have this really nice soft gradation of color and no harsh lines. You see that? So when this grows out, she's just gonna have a really soft, blended little highlight for a long time. Everything is definitely leaning towards more lived in when it comes to the color applications. They want to have this longer without having to go get it retouched. Well, this is a really great way to have that happen. She's not going to have to go in and get her roots redone with this color. This will last for her for a while.
Yay.
Yeah, you're welcome. Am I hurting you? Oh, good. Yeah. Okay. Clip this back on now. Hey! I knew they'd come in handy for something today. All right. Now that she's dry, I'm going to finish this haircut. Like I said before, I like to do all of my texturizing and blending when the hair is dry. I visually just like to see it that way. It doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. You can do this technique wet or dry. It's just your preference, okay? The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to isolate the crown. We're going to take this crown section and we are going to clip it away from everything. Holy moly, those highlights, right? What?
It's fun.
Okay. So I'm just going to clip her crown right up here. Does that hurt? Are you okay?
Perfect.
All right.
Good.
She needs 2 clippies. She has a lot of hair. Okay. Now I'm going to turn her around so you all can see. The first thing that we're going to do, I don't know if you want to flip to number 2. Perfect. Sorry.
Okay.
Look down just a little bit. Is all the way around this perimeter, I'm going to be taking vertical sections, vertical subsections, okay? We are going to hold them at a 45-degree angle, and we are going to point cut, okay? This is just going to give those ends a little bit more texture and give it a really pretty, more beveled shape. Don't make your sections too large, only what your little fingers can hold. Make sure to keep that angle and just point cut into those ends. Especially for someone with thicker hair like Nicole, this is just going to make this so much softer. And it's going to give it some really nice movement. Go away. When I get by the ears, I usually over direct just a bit. And in the front, because I don't want to really take away too much length. So I will pull back just a bit. And that's, again, that's my preference. See how pretty that line is already? Over direct. Point cut. There we go. Now I'm going to spin her around and do the same thing over here. Let's see. How about this way? That's better. Again, when I get by that ear, I'm just going to over direct it just a bit. Make my angle and then cut. Okay. Next thing we're going to do, I'm actually going to turn her to the front. Everyone gets a good shot so you can see. We're going to divide this into 6 sections, like a pinwheel. Everybody's seen a pinwheel section before, I assume? Okay. Section 1. We are now switching to blenders. I'm going to take my blending shear. I'm going to pick up the crown section. I'm going to twist it. And those last 4 centimeters, we're going to cut into those, just like that. This is just going to soften and texturize some of this hair. I'm rotating off of the vertex so that everybody can see where my point is coming from, okay? Twist. Those last 4 centimeters, we cut. Goodbye, hair. Don't be nervous, Nicole. I do this all the time. Get that out of there. Third one's going to be right here. We twist. Ow. Just going to give it some, got like Velma vibes from Scooby-Doo right now. Again, still pivoting off of that vertex, making my next 3. If the hair falls out, that's fine. Don't use that. Nice. And there's that last crown section. Now, basically what we just did is give that top a little bit of texture so that when she wears it, she's got some movement and stuff in there, okay? What I do with a fringe like this, since we didn't get to cut the fringe since she already had one, what I did want to point out is that it is a very full fringe, and most Betty Bangs are supposed to be kind of full, but I do like to layer them a little and give them some texture. So one of my favorite ways to do that is to take vertical sections. I hold them straight out, bend to a 45, and I just softly point cut with the blenders to soften that line just a bit. Everybody can see what I did there. Go away here. It looks like that guy wants to belong here. There we go. See how nice and soft that is? Looks really, really pretty. So what I'm going to do to finish this off is I am going to give her some really pretty textured waves. When I do these, I use a flat iron, okay? You can use your Marcel iron or your curling iron. There is no right or wrong way, but I am going to show you how I create these every day in the salon. I still start on diagonal back sectioning. I love a good diagonal back section, you guys. It just makes everything fall so nice and natural. On short hair, you don't have to turn too much because we know that she's already going to have a lot of nice texture to begin with. So when I'm working on those shorter pieces, I just give them a little bit of a curve so that they blend in with everything else. I'm curling away from the face, and I'm just going to softly pull that hair straight down. If you want your ends to be straighter, just go back in with your flat iron and straighten them out just a bit. I think that's why I like using the flat iron the most, because I can go back in and adjust if I need to. Let's straighten those ends. Straightening those ends is how you get that really cute, soft, beachy texture. It's really important when you're styling that you are keeping that iron motion fluid. You never want to stop that iron or you will get kinks and creases in the hair. As I move through the sections, I like to rotate between towards the face and away. I feel like it just gives the hair a lot more interest. If you have a client that has super fine hair, you can use some hairspray in between each section if you feel like you need the hold. Nicole has so much hair, I just don't feel like that's going to be an issue for us. If there's any questions while I'm curling, feel free. I don't ever brush anything out until I'm finished. I let them all sit and cool. And this underneath where she's shorter, we don't really need to do full curl here. We just need the texture to match. So don't kill yourself trying to make like perfect curls back here. We just want them to be smooth, and we just want them to add some movement to that underneath. We just need some texture under there. I also prefer to use a flat iron when I do these because I feel like I do get a much smoother wave because it's straightening at the same time. Look at that color though. What? Remember to constantly keep that iron moving. That way we don't have any creases in the hair. If you notice when I do these, you'll see me following the curl that I made with my fingers. I'm just setting that shape base. See that? And keeping the iron on those angles like that is how you get those really pretty waves. Another thing that I always tell people, especially on long hair when you're creating these, is to make sure that you make the turn with your flat iron first before you start pulling down. That way you actually get some curl up by the top of the head. See how we made the turn and then we pull? She gets a whole bunch of curl there. I am going to straighten those ends because I don't want it to be that curly. I am going to need a little bit of hairspray. I'm going to curl that one again because I don't like it. Yeah, okay. And since I've already smoothed out the bangs, I'm going to leave those alone. But now she's all curled. Let me get behind you. Okay, now that she's all curled, I am going to use BY Mist Hairspray Light. This is a light hold hairspray. It's just going to take some flyaways down for me. When I'm spraying any kind of curls or waves, I'm not going all over the place with this, okay? We're going to use short bursts, and we're going to go in a downward motion. This is so we're not pushing all those flyaways up and off of these curls, okay? So just like this, hold it a little bit away, down, down. Everybody see that? What I like about this hairspray is that it is workable and buildable. So the more you use, the more hold you can have. I let it set for just a minute or so. And it's just your preference. If you'd like to use a brush, you can use a brush. You can use a comb, or you can use your fingertips. But let's get those curls combed out. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now she's just going to have some really beautiful, soft, tousled waves. Mm. And this is my favorite look from the Italian Style collection. Yay. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today and watching me create this. If you have any questions, like I said, please feel free. You can also use the Framesi website, okay? I have those listed here somewhere. Yes, you can purchase anything that we talked about today from framesiprofessional.com. We have the national distributor, which is, of course, Cosmoprof, that you can order this stuff from. If you need any direct support from Framesi, you can use support at framesi-na.com. You can also call our technical hotline at 1-800-245-6323. Thank you so much, you guys. I hope you have a great Monday. Bye, everyone.